There is an experience you have had more times than you could ever tally, even if it has never once come up in conversation. A woman younger than you looks over, nothing exaggerated, nothing that lingers, just a passing glance that settles into a quiet smile. Something moves inside you, and almost before it can register, your mind steps in and shuts it down. You convince yourself she is just warm by nature, that the moment carried no particular significance, that this is simply how she treats people around her. And with that, it disappears. The vast majority of men who allow those moments to evaporate share a single common thread beneath the surface. They have quietly lost faith in their own read of the world. That erosion did not arrive all at once. It built up the way sediment does, gradually, almost invisibly, one thin layer at a time. Over the span of many years, a persistent undercurrent of quiet messaging begins to reshape how a man understands his own place. Attraction is territory that belongs to youth. Interest diminishes with time. If a younger woman notices an older man, there must be some mundane explanation, something incidental, something that means nothing at all. Eventually, those messages stop being something you hear and start becoming something you see through, a lens that screens out signals before they ever fully land. But here is something that does not get said with enough clarity or frequency. That smile was not accidental. It was not reflexive. It did not have to be theatrical to mean something real. People who spend their lives studying the patterns of human behavior have identified something that most of us tend to walk right past. Human beings rarely make their feelings obvious. They let things surface in quiet ways, in small movements, in fleeting expressions, and then they wait to see who is actually present enough to notice. Men who miss those signals are not missing them because they lack worth. They miss them because no one ever handed them the full picture and said, "Here, look at this carefully." So let us do exactly that. When a younger woman smiles in your direction, the reflexive response for most men is to compress the meaning of it down to almost nothing. That reaction is built on a particular assumption, a buried belief that attraction has to be something you actively generate, something you perform, something you visibly work toward and earn. That is the approach of men who are still in the process of figuring out who they are and making sure everyone around them can see it. What most older men genuinely cannot see is that the very thing they have stopped doing is now the thing pulling attention toward them. You are no longer engaged in the project of proving your value to anyone. You are not scanning the expressions of people nearby to measure how they are receiving you. You are not quietly adjusting and reshaping yourself based on what you think the room expects. You are simply present, completely, without any underlying agenda. And it is in that space that something with real weight begins to take hold. Genuine confidence does not introduce itself. It has no need to. People register it before their conscious mind has finished processing it. The steadiness in how you carry yourself, the unhurried quality of the way you move, the complete absence of urgency in how you exist in a space, all of it speaks before a single word is ever exchanged. So when a smile finds you somewhere ordinary, a corridor, a coffee shop, a forgettable afternoon, it typically rises from somewhere beneath deliberate thought. She did not plan it. Her nervous system read something in the environment and responded to it before her rational mind had any say in the matter. The smile was not chosen. It simply arrived, and that is the layer that most explanations about attraction never quite get to. People say confidence is attractive and then they leave it there, as though that phrase explains the whole thing. It does not. It only describes the surface. What she is actually responding to runs considerably deeper. It is a kind of settled authority, a quiet internal solidity. Men who have genuinely stopped seeking validation from outside themselves carry a different texture of energy. It is not forceful or heavy. It is grounded. It says, without any words, that nothing here requires proof. And in a world that grows louder and more restless by the year, that particular quality cuts through the noise like a frequency everything else cannot touch. Younger men are still in the thick of building themselves. They move with urgency. Their reactions come fast. And they are almost constantly monitoring how others are responding to them. That is not a shortcoming. It is simply where they are in the process. You are no longer in that place. And the distance between where they are and where you are creates contrast. Contrast is exactly what the eye and the nervous system move toward. Her smile is a response to something she may not yet have language for. It is real, even when it is understated. But there is more than one thing living inside that smile. Beneath whatever draw might be present, there is a whole other dimension. It is about ease, not a safety that needs to be announced or performed, but a kind of soft, emotional steadiness that people absorb without thinking about it. You are not positioning yourself for control over what happens next. You are not quietly pushing the interaction in a direction. You are not trying to come away from the exchange having won something. That makes you feel stable to be around, and stability is something people are pulled toward without having to decide to be. Comfort follows naturally, and within that brief window of shared space, she does not feel evaluated or pressed. There is no role she needs to perform. She can simply be, and that experience is rarer than it ought to be. The smile is her unspoken acknowledgement of that feeling. Here is where the misinterpretation tends to happen. Most men land on one of two conclusions. Either the smile is obvious romantic interest, or it is nothing more than reflexive social politeness. But more often than not, it is neither of those things precisely. It sits closer to a question with no words attached, a quiet curiosity about what is underneath that stillness, whether you are genuinely as settled as you appear. That question exists just below the surface of the moment. If you flinch, if you break away too quickly, if you visibly do not know what to do with it, the moment does not close because you did something wrong. It closes because it was never given the space it needed. Men who are still in pursuit mode respond immediately and with visible effort. Men who have learned to simply notice allow the moment to breathe without grabbing for it. And running beneath all of it, the smile is often about recognition, not about your age, not about your appearance, not about what you have built or accumulated over the years. It is something interior she is picking up on, a sense that you have arrived at a destination inside yourself. The searching is finished. The question of who you are has already been answered. You have made your choice about yourself, and that choice moves outward from you as a presence that needs no announcement and no explanation. What makes this quietly remarkable is that many men at this point in their lives have not yet noticed that this shift has occurred within them. You still carry the older version of yourself, the one who understood that being noticed required deliberate effort, strategy, visible proof of worth. So when it shows up without any of that, when it arrives on its own, you do not receive it. You interrogate it. But that doubt is not humility. It is an outdated story about who you are, a story that stopped being accurate long before you stopped telling it. If something in this reached you, pass it on to someone who could use it right now.